Welcome to the Axecast. This is the Sunday, June 25th, 2023 edition of the Axecast. Today on the Axecast, I'm here with Eric and Luke. We're going to be talking about the blockbuster trade that Zach Kleiman and the Grizzlies front office made, trading away our beloved Tyus Jones, but getting in return Marcus Smart. So now the Grizzlies have the back-to-back defensive players of the year in Jaren Jackson and Marcus Smart. We'll talk about what this means, swapping backup point guards, Tyus for Marcus Smart, as well as what the Grizzlies did on draft day. We were talking about kind of how we hoped it would be an uneventful draft for the Grizzlies. And compared to the previous Grizzlies draft, it was pretty uneventful, while the Grizzlies still did make draft picks. And we'll do a little bit of Summer League preview. So wherever you guys want to start, probably with the trade first, you guys take it away.
Yeah, the trade was pretty shocking for who we got. I was pretty confident that we'd trade Tyus, and we all kind of agreed that although we all love Tyus and he meant so much to our team and was a great backup for Ja and did so much for our team, not just on the court but off the court with his leadership, we all felt like it was time to move on from him and he deserves to get a starting role somewhere else. Um, and he was going to walk no matter what next semester or next year. Um, and we wouldn't get any value from him. So it just made sense for us to part ways with him, which it is sad, but that wasn't the shocking part. The Marcus Smart part of it shocked me at least. My initial reaction was before like any of the picks came out was I was ecstatic, which I'm still very happy about it. But originally I was like thrilled and I thought it was awesome. You know, Marcus Smart, he's been the heart and soul of the Celtics for the last 5, 6 years, all those late playoff runs for the Eastern Conference Finals and the finals. And he just has been a starter and the leader on that team through it all. And he's a pretty much a perfect Dylan Brooks replacement in that he provides a lot of the same grittiness and toughness and defensive effort and defensive flexibility that Dylan provided. And on top of that, he's not going to take 20 shots and make only two of them. He has better shooting numbers than Dylan, but he also takes less of them. So I think that's perfect, especially just for our locker room. I think he's someone that was a clear leader on the Celtics. Everyone always like talked about how Marcus Smart was holding the team together and holding them accountable and being the most outspoken person there. And I think that the Grizzlies definitely need that. We learned a little bit about Steven Adams being a leader in the locker room, but Ja didn't uh, listen to Steven. So, maybe getting another veteran in the locker room with Marcus Smart can just really settle things down for the Grizzlies. And I'm still very happy about the trade. Although it was later revealed that we gave up two more first-round picks in the process of the Celtics, which originally caught me off guard, but I was still happy about the deal. But once the details of the two picks we're getting, one of them was the 25th pick in this year's draft that the Celtics traded away anyways and traded three different times in the draft to get new picks. And then the other one is next year that's going to belong to Golden State, who we all pretty much assume is going to be a very good team. So that pick's not going to be very valuable either, late first round. So overall, I'm happy with it. I think we needed to draw a line in the sand and say, look, we're serious about winning and we need to make a serious change and actually cash in on all of our assets. Because the big thing with the Grizzlies is we have the assets, but we haven't shown on this type of level that we're willing to quote unquote overpay or give away good assets for an established veteran. So I'm very pleased with the deal overall.
Yeah, like you said, Eric, I think it's important to first say, uh, I guess a goodbye to Tyus Jones. He was a super important part of this team for 4 years, and he really helped bridge help Morant um, when he was out, and just bring him up to speed when he was new. And now Morant's a great player, and Tyus Jones is another great player, and you can't have them both. So I'm glad we got something out of him before he left for good. But I am gonna miss Tyus. I think he was like really important. And then on Marcus Smart, I'm up and down on the trade, but mostly up. And I'll start with what I didn't like so much. Marcus Smart is like a good leader, and he shoots better than Dylan, I'll say, but that's not such a high standard because Dylan shot terrible. I think Marcus Smart still doesn't shoot so well from the field. I mean, at least from three, which is something I really think we needed a lot after that playoffs run. And I don't see how Marcus Smart addresses that. However, he is like very good at what he does well, which is defend. And I see how he could be a great leader for our team, which is something I think we could totally use after some nonsense that happened the recent season. So if he could really shore that up and then bring his defensive intensity, which is like what Dylan Brooks brought, like you said, Eric, and then take fewer offensive possessions away, that would be great. And I think it would really improve the team. Another thing I'm a little bit concerned about is the size. If we're planning on starting Smart, Morant, and Bane, I think that would maybe be make a vulnerability in our defense for some teams with bigger players. And having those three on the floor at once is semi-concerning to me. But all in all, I think that he will be a very positive addition to the team, and I'm glad Kleiman sprung out the opportunity. And from an overall perspective, what I really like about this move is it lets the Grizz keep their flexibility. So Tyus Jones was a great player, but his contract's going to end in 1 year. Probably he's going to leave anyway. And then we trade the first round pick from this year's draft, and like we don't even have room for another player pretty much. And then Golden State's first round pick in next year's draft, which, like you said, as much as I hate to admit, Golden State's probably going to be not a bad team next year. So I don't think we're giving up too much, although 2 first round picks sounds like so much. So we really still have, now that this draft's over, all of our first round picks for the future. So like I've been harping on, this isn't like a complete swing for the fences trade. We could still make that trade in the future for the right guy when the time comes. And we're able to acquire Marcus Smart, who I think is going to be a great addition. So I love that we kept the door open for the future. And I'm excited to see what that looks like when it comes.
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with everything that you guys were saying as well. I love that Luke played devil's advocate, so I didn't have to do it this time. Because, there are some skepticisms that I do have with Marcus Smart, namely the thing that I was talking about last season was half-court offense. Half-court offense was the Grizzlies' biggest issue, and it really reared its ugly head in the playoff series against the Lakers when we couldn't score for quarters at a time. And so Marcus Smart really doesn't solve that. He's a career, I just looked it up. He's shot 33.6% from three last season, and he's a career 32.3% from three. So, yeah, he's not really addressing the half court offense issues. But if we're just comparing the swap for Tyus Jones, and I'll get to singing my swan song for Tyus in a minute because I do love Tyus. Offensively, I think would say Tyus is better than Marcus Smart. Both do a good job of setting the table for the stars on the team. I think Tyus is slightly better at it. Justin, was it 4 seasons in a row that Tyus held the assist to turnover highest ratio in the league?
All 4.
Yeah, all 4 in Memphis. So, I would say that Tyus offensively is probably a little bit better. I'm not sure what the shooting numbers are for Tyus. I mean, you guys always talked about how he was one of the better shooters for the Grizzlies, and
he was
he
inconsistent.
backed that.
He was
He backed that up.
Yeah,
he was for a while. So while it's close, I'll give the slight edge to Tyus for offensive production. Defensive production, though, is where the Grizzlies are really, that's why they did this trade. We're bringing in another. Okay, so the Grizzlies lost an elite wing defender in Dylan Brooks. And now we're getting an even better one in Marcus Smart. And most importantly, so we didn't really get Marcus Smart for offense. We got him for defense. And secondly, we also got him for his leadership in the locker room, which you guys already talked about. And that's really what this team needs. And that's why I've loved this trade. It's why that I think it is Zach Kleiman saying the Grizzlies are in win now mode, which is something honestly that we have maybe not been as critical as we could have been with Zach Kleiman in the front office. They already talked about it, and we've already talked about it in previous XCasts about tripling down on youth. And now we know that was a mistake, but it's just good to see us taking those steps. And like everybody else is saying, oh man, 2 firsts, that's a lot. These are the prices that you have to pay to make championship runs, and especially for small market teams.
100%.
I mean, you're just not going to be able to make big moves, especially as the smallest market in the league, without having to maybe overpay for a really good player. But I mean, even Celtics fans, I mean, even if I'm sure you guys have like looked at Celtics Twitter and stuff, they are just they hate this move. They love Marcus Smart. He's been the heart and soul of all those, Eastern Conference Finals and that one Finals run Celtics teams. Um, so I'm glad that he's going to be in a Grizzlies uniform, and I hope that he can really lead the locker room more than anything. I mean, I hope the defense and the play on the floor is there, but I think almost just more. I think his influence in the locker room is going to be more important than his play on the court. So,
And
well, hopefully that comes true.
yeah, and kind of going back to talk about what Luke was saying, those are definitely valid concerns that you can have with Marcus. He's not, the Grizzlies still didn't find that other go-to scorer. But with Marcus Smart, I feel like you have to look at it from the lens of what is he replacing? So he's replacing Dylan Brooks in the starting lineup, which I just think the pure presence of Marcus Smart, very similar shooting numbers than Dylan, slightly better. But that's not the main thing I'm looking at. It's the volume. He's not someone that's going to just chuck and chuck and chuck until the cows come home. He knows his role in the offense. He does occasionally get trigger happy, but it's nothing to the extent that we've had to deal with Dylan. And then he's a defensive player of the year. So in that aspect, I'm not worried about. There's still concerns potentially with the Grizzlies half-court offense. We'll have to see how it spaces out. But the big thing there, I think, is teams aren't going to be able to just sag off Marcus Smart to the extent that they did to Dylan. Because Marcus Smart has hit big-time playoff shots before. Not always, but I've seen plenty.
LeBron was sitting on that elbow, bro. LeBron was sitting in the paint against Dylan in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Marcus Smart isn't a Luke Kennard snipe shooter or whatever, but I don't think teams are going to be able to just sit in the paint 20 feet away from him. I think that that's a big thing that's going to help the Grizzlies. Just his presence being on the court offensively, teams aren't going to be able to double and triple help off of him that much. And then the other point about the length, that is another concern, definitely, that the Grizzlies backcourt would be so, short per se compared to how they maybe should be. But I will say that Marcus Smart really hasn't had a problem with guarding taller guys in the past. Like, they used him against Jokic. They used him against Porzingis. Like, some of the bigger guys sometimes that the Celtics have played, they've thrown Marcus Smart at him, and he's been able to kind of pester them and hold his own. So while it isn't ideal in the sense that he's not the go-to scorer or the lengthy wing that the Grizzlies dreamed about, I don't have really any concerns. And I think that overall, I think the Grizzlies got better with this deal. That's what I'll say.
I
How
agree.
much will be, but I think we got better.
How about the Tony Allen move to Memphis parallel with Marcus Smart?
Both Oklahoma State, both from Boston, both former Celtics being traded. We did trade. Did we trade Tony Allen, or did we get him in free agency? I feel like we got him in free
I
agency.
think we got him free agency. I think, but they
we
were
got
the
him.
same age when they came here.
Yep.
Both went to Oklahoma State.
Chip
Yeah,
on their
pretty
like
shoulder.
well into their careers. Yeah,
Good
both
defenders.
dogs, dude. But yeah, it is kind of crazy.
Did you guys see Tony Allen like call in on Chris Vernon's show and like
Yeah,
stamp?
yeah. That was funny. Yeah, I hope they get Tuesdays with Tony back at some point.
Yeah,
on the Vernon show. But yeah, and I agree with everything you guys were saying. But plus, I'll just give my little swan song to Tyus. Tyus was such a great person, someone that I just loved rooting for, someone that I just loved that was in a Grizzlies uniform. And I'm wearing a Mike Conley jersey, and for the longest time, when we had Mike Conley, we never had a good backup point guard to pair with Mike Conley. When Mike Conley went to the bench, it was no disrespect, but Nick Calathis or Bino Udrih.
No,
Shelvin Mack.
Mario Chalmers was good.
Mario Chalmers had like a good half of the season for us.
I think Benno was good too. I remember Benno winning us a playoff game.
Benno did have I think he did win us the playoff game, but he was inconsistent.
Yeah.
He was super consistent from the mid range every time he shot it.
If talking about backup point guards, Tyus Jones is the best backup point guard in recent memory. So, his play on the court was phenomenal, as well as just like he was able to have like a bunch of memories in Memphis too. I remember, like, I think it was his first season, he proposed to his now wife, like in Memphis, like on Tom Lee Park or something like that, and like now has, I think, at least one. He has a daughter, right, or a son. So like just been able to have like memories being made in Memphis, and I just think that's cool. Because I love Tyus as a person. So
yeah,
glad to see at least some time in a Grizzlies uniform, and he's off to Washington, right? So he should get the starting role that everybody has been saying that he deserves, and he does. So hopefully he can thrive in that role, and he gets to spend his prime years being a solid starting point guard in this league. So, I mean, what better? I mean, if you're grading endings that you could have, this is probably like a minus or A ending that we could have with Tyus. To send him off to a starting role. So yeah,
for sure.
Miss Tyus.
Yeah, we will.
Do you hear Caleb?
He froze.
NBA draft.
Oh, there he is.
Did I go away for a second?
Yeah,
go away for a second. Let me switch Wi-Fi's for a second. But y'all take it away. The Grizzlies. I saw all your guys went away, and the Grizzlies didn't make a moves. But what was your take on the draft and the Grizzlies picks?
Yeah, it was very interesting. I think in recent years we've been accustomed to the Grizzlies being very aggressive in the draft, always moving up and picking guys that they like. And I'm actually very happy the way that this draft played out, because Kleiman made it clear that he didn't want any more youth really to be a part of the main rotation of guys that are going to be playing in winning time in the playoffs. And he stuck to that. We didn't trade up. We stuck with our 45th pick because we traded away our 25th. And we kind of got both of our picks. We kind of took flyers. I mean, we took a stash and what's it called? Draft and stash. Yeah. Got it backwards. Draft and stash guy that's just going to go play overseas. And at 45, we got Gigi Jackson out of South Carolina, who was the #1 player in the country going into college. And he just had a very weird, tumultuous year where he had like decent, I mean, he averaged like 15 a game, but his shooting percentages weren't great. And he had some team chemistry issues where he was getting into it a little bit with players and coaches, but he's taken accountability and said that, you know, he was in his own head and he's got to be better. And so it was just a lot of like, you know, him getting in his own way kind of thing. Whereas, you know, he's so talented on paper and he's so young. He's still 18 years old, doesn't turn 19 until like, I think later this fall. And so he's kind of just a flyer that the Grizzlies are going to take just off pure talent. I mean, I watched a little bit of his highlights and it seems like he's got some incredible like dribble moves and like he's really good at creating his own shot. Which, I mean, his stroke looks really good and everything kind of looks pure as to like he looks like a shot maker and he's lengthy and he's 18. But his shots weren't falling at a great rate, but I mean, he is 18 and he was a true freshman, one and done in college. So we really don't know, but I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I think he's going to be really good one day because I don't know. But from what I could tell, he looks very athletic and very like, if he just doesn't get in his own way, I feel like the Grizzlies have a good development program that should be able to help him out. And I'm kind of curious to see how he turns out, but I like the pick a lot. I see the potential there just with his height being a 6'9", 215, 18 years old. Some of like like I said, those dribble packages he has and like the way he creates space and gets his own shot up when there's a lot of like looks where it just looks like he has no chance to put up a shot, but he somehow manufactures something out of nowhere. It's pretty appealing and interesting. Who knows if it'll work out, but I kind of like the swing here, just off pure talent.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Eric. I was ecstatic with both guys the Grizz drafted. Starting with Gigi Jackson, I thought I watched the tape, looked great. And the scary part about him is, like you said, he's only 18 years old. So I think if he gets a chance to come up to Coach Jenkins' development system, it's going to be crazy. He's got so much time to develop, and you can see he's got so much potential, and he already has all the physical characteristics you want. And my goodness, like they only show his good plays in the YouTube, but it's
good.
It's really good, dude. I can see like I really want to see him work his way up to the big team in his first year because I think that Jenkins could really make him like a great player. He's got so much talent. I totally think he could be an all-star. Like if just given the right situation and he keeps his like humility sure. Because that guy he's good and 18. So I think it's very like Gigi Jackson could be who they wanted Zaire Williams to be. Wow. Not saying I'm giving up on Zaire Williams yet because I still have lots of hope, but just throwing it out there. And as far as Tarek Biberovic, he did not miss a single shot in the YouTube video I watched. It was pretty fun. I think like it's like a Max Strussi type of selection.
Didn't he look like a Bogdanovich the way he played?
Yeah, like
good. Like I don't know.
All his shots were like, pew, like right in the net, like no rim ever. It looks so good. I think that's the biggest area of need for Memphis, and that addresses it. So I was excited about that one. Who knows when or if he'll ever be able to come play in the NBA, but I'm keeping my eye out for that, unlike some of the past ones like Rade Zagarats. So this one I think has lots of potential.
This one was weird before Caleb goes, like just because he didn't have a lot of minutes like he didn't get a lot of playing time, but like the videos I saw of him, like he looked he looked confident and he looked like he had a lot of skills like passing and his stroke looked really good. So I'm just curious as to like if he's just on a really good team and if he's really young or what that's about. But again, we may never see him like some of the other draft and stashes we've had, but who knows?
No, he's gonna be good. I really have faith.
Well, far be it from me to not trust Zach Kleiman and his draft picks. So I will not make that mistake. So as far as I'm concerned, these are A+ draft picks. While I am a little bit surprised at the draft pick of Gigi Jackson because of the character concerns. That was something that did surprise me a little bit. But I think Luke hit the nail on the head talking about. I think this is kind of the player that they hoped Zaire Williams would be. That long, lengthy, athletic, uh, offensive playmaking wing um, that could potentially be a two-way player as well, um, and just be able to score, just a scorer from the wing. That's something that we really tried to get in Zaire Williams. So, and I agree. Like, I'm a huge Zaire Williams fan. I'm still not giving up on him. I still think that he can be that player. But um, as we've already chronicled last season, it's a huge setback for that narrative. But GG Jackson, man, don't know much about him. But I hope that he actually can be an elite playmaker and an elite scorer for this Grizzlies team, because the tape sure certainly says that he can be. I mean, the tape looks like he's one of the best players in this draft. It makes you wonder how this guy fell all the way to, what is he, like the 42, 40,
45.
45.
45? Yeah. I mean, you watch his highlights and you're like, how is this dude not, top 10? But I mean, to be fair, I mean, and we can just touch on this for a second. I think this draft was one of the best drafts that I've ever witnessed in my years of NBA fandom. I mean, never have I seen a draft this deep. And I mean, it it was just so crazy. Like there are solid franchise contributors all the way well into the first round, like deep into the first round, I thought. Um,
Mhm.
and it just goes to show, like, we hope that some of these players can contribute for the Grizzlies as well in the mid second round. So, but honestly, like, you do just have to keep your expectations low. Like, in the lottery, you're hoping that these players can, especially like the top two, three, four, depending on the year, top two, three, four, depending on the year, you're hoping that that player can be a franchise cornerstone player that could maybe lead you to a championship if he's that good. Then you get to like 5 through like 12, and those, you're just hoping that those guys can contribute to a team that can make a deep playoff run. And then as you get into the later first round, you're really just hoping that those guys can just be on a team at all, just like have an NBA career, like a longer NBA career. And then once you get into the second round, like, if these guys end up being solid NBA players, then you've truly found a diamond in the rough. So you do just kind of have to keep your expectations a little bit low. Um, but I mean, these guys, GG Jackson will be summer league, but Tariq will not. Am I
No,
correct in
he's
that?
staying overseas.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Um, so keeping the expectations a little low, but and really just kind of looking to see if Zach Kleiman in the front office make any more offseason moves, but as far as trading or free agency. But yeah, I thought it was a solid draft night. Like I said, I wanted it to be uneventful. I did not want the Grizzlies to trade up and draft somebody like mid first round, like we have done in previous drafts, and I'm fine with that. Low risk, low reward, and I'm okay with that. So, um, Good, yeah. We can move on to if you guys have anything else, or if not, we can move on to summer league.
These guys are high reward.
For sure. And like that's all you need right now. Like Caleb said, you want it to be uneventful, not someone that you're trying to force into the rotation this year to get better. The guys we need to add to our rotation this year to get better need to be established veterans to help mix in with the nice young core we have. And so I was happy with our front office, and I'm with Luke on Gigi Jackson. I don't know. Something about him, I just feel like he's got something. Maybe I'm wrong. His off the court stuff was concerning considering he went on IG Live and was like cussing out his coaches or something. But he's apologized. He said that's big head Gigi. I'm little head Gigi now. In his quotes saying
I would say that too if I wanted to be drafted by an NBA team. I just saying. I would give an apology if I was hoping to be an NBA draftee.
That's fair. But I just think his potential is there, and that's all you can ask for when you're picking at 45. There's no one else in the draft that we could have gotten with that type of potential at that position. We could have maybe gotten someone to force into our rotation, but I would not have liked that. So I'm glad that we went with someone that's young but has a very high floor or very high ceiling, in my opinion.
Yeah, we already have way too many people in our rotation. So, yeah. Although I would love to see GG work his way into the rotation. Actually,
that would mean something has gone very right.
Yeah, or wrong in terms of the season.
Or wrong, maybe. Yeah.
All right, so like I previously mentioned, Gigi Jackson will be a member of the Grizzlies Summer League roster. Tariq Bibb, I'm not gonna try. I don't know how to say this. He will not be a part of the Summer League roster. What are you guys looking forward to with this Summer League? Can we make it 2 out of 3 years? No, I'm lying. We won in 2020, right?
We won the year with Brandon Clark.
Yeah, it was Brandon and Ja didn't play, but it was that year.
Yeah,
that we won. Can we get a little mini Summer League dynasty going and take the ship? Throw back to the year when Wayne Selden should have won Summer League MVP over Lonzo Ball, and we lost in the championship game to the Kings. I think it is what it was.
Yeah, I'm very curious with this Summer League team for a number of reasons. We sat here basically a year ago on the AXCast, and we had a conversation about a player that there was a lot of smoke about, who was apparently, playing really well and getting really better and making improvements. And people are like, oh, don't sleep on this guy. This guy's going to come in next year and be a big part of our team. And who was that? That was Santi Aldama. And at the time, that was pretty laughable. And although there was some substance to it, what multiple people were saying, we didn't maybe 100% buy into it, but we were just kind of accepting that everyone was saying it. And then it kind of came into fruition. This year, the new guy is Jake LaRavia. Everyone's been talking about Jake LaRavia, saying that he's been getting better and is going to be a big part of this team. Taylor Jenkins said it. Zach Kleiman said it the other day. And then Desmond Bain said it like 2 days ago on draft night. So I'm very curious to see what Summer League Jake LaRavia looks like. I'm going to make a hot take, and I'm going to say that he wins Summer League MVP of the championship Memphis Grizzlies Summer League team. That's going to be my hot take.
Okay, I like it.
To captain in. But there's just a lot of smoke around Jake LaRavia. And last time there was smoke around a player about a year ago, it was Santi Aldama, and he actually became a nice contributor to our team last year. So that's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. Also, Gigi Jackson, I think that's going to be cool to see what he looks like. But the last thing before I kick it to you guys is no Zaire Williams on the Summer League. What is that about? I'm a little worried about that because, like last year, Xavier Tillman probably didn't need to be on the Summer League team, but he wasn't, where he needed to be. And he was like, yeah, I'll go play Summer League. Zaire's basically in the same spot. So why isn't he trying to develop and go try to run the summer league team and try to be the number one guy and get that experience under his belt if there's not something else going on? So I don't know whether there's like disdain with Zaire. I don't know if he's frustrated or he refuses to play or he's potentially on the trading block. I don't know, but what do you guys think about that? Because I feel like Zaire should be definitely playing in the summer league.
Yeah, I guess like responding to that, I think Tillman was probably even more NBA ready than Zaire is now when he played summer league, and Tillman stayed ready and was able to contribute in a huge way in the playoffs. Like, so I don't know what nobody knows what's going on, but I would have liked to see him play because I think he could have totally benefited from it. You want to give your take on that, Caleb?
I don't really have much of a take on it other than I highly doubt that Zaire's like refusing to go play in summer league. That just doesn't sound like his personality at all. I would imagine it would be something like the latter of what Eric was saying, that maybe it's if Zaire Williams is not going to play in the summer league, and I would venture to guess that is because the Grizzlies said that, not because Zaire said that.
Fair.
Yeah. Well, I like that you brought up Santi as well because, like you said, I did not buy that Santi was going to morph into this big contributor like he did when they were saying it, and I was proven wrong. And it may have been a confidence thing, like Brevin Knight was saying all year, but the difference I saw from his rookie year to last year was like very drastic, and it was like very happy. I was very happy to see it. So I don't know how much of a role summer league played in that, but we now have 4. I mean, I guess now they're sophomores; they're not rookies anymore. But like Junior Lofton, no longer Kennedy Chandler, I guess. Laravia Roddy. I guess Roddy's already kind of, I think, established himself a role in the rotation, kind of, and Vince Williams. So I'm looking for at least one of them to step up because I think there's going to be room for them to play. With Dylan leaving and Tyus leaving, I guess obviously bringing in Smart, but Clark is going to be injured probably to start the season. Who knows if Steven Adamson is going to come back? So I think there's minutes available to be grabbed, and this is a great time for them to prove that they deserve it. So I'm gonna be interested to see which one of them kind of steps up. My money's on Roddy because I like Roddy so much. But like if Laravia could take that next step, I'd be ecstatic. And I think that he does have a skill set that we could really use if he was able to optimize it. So I'd love to see Jake have a great summer league and then earn some rotation minutes. And if he can make a Santi leap, I like last year I didn't believe Santi could do it. Right now I don't believe Jake can do it. But like if that could happen, that'd be amazing. And I'm gonna say like it's not always like who you'd expect. Like last year we all were kind of thinking that Zaire would take the big jump, and it ended up being Santi. So, maybe Vince Williams is gonna be the big improver here. Who knows?
Hey, I still own Vince Williams stock.
Dude, okay. Well, I own the Roddy stock. I'm gonna say that.
I own Roddy too, some of it.
Okay, whatever. I think I was a enjoyer. But
okay, so we need to get our production team and have like a bar graph of stock for each player for us.
Yeah, and we should have like a limited amount of stock like that we can buy because you can't just buy everybody's stock. That doesn't make sense.
Fair. That's what I'm saying.
But there's incentivized to like sell stock on players when you are no longer.
Yeah.
Like me, I sold my Dylan Brooks stock like this time a year ago, and I should have got rid of it earlier.
Yeah, that was actually a good move, bro.
It's like the market crash of 2008, but with Dylan Brooks.
Yeah. I guess last thing is I also am like really eager to see GG play. We all saw the videos, all saw the potential. I think to get some like real live game action and not just highlights would be super intriguing to me, and I'm looking forward to it. I have really high hopes.
Yeah. So I like what you guys are saying. Eric, I didn't know all that about Jake LaRavia potentially, making this huge leap. Hopefully that's true. Hopefully, it kind of is a little bit laughable that, Jake LaRavia would have this huge leap and contribute to the Grizzlies' success come regular season. But like you said, we were saying the same thing about Santi. We were like, Santi Aldama contributing to the Grizzlies when it actually matters. Like, come on, let's get serious. And turns out it was true. So who's to say that another player couldn't get that huge leap? But I think the question that we really should be asking is which player this summer league will get the Zaire Williams treatment of last season and the Bain treatment of the season before that? Which player is Taylor Jenkins and the coaching staff going to force to be that on-ball playmaker? It was Bain, and then we saw the massive leap that he made because of that experience, and they try to do that with Zaire. We have already mentioned how that worked out, but is there going to be a player that maybe the coaching staff has their eye on? Maybe it's Jake LaRavia. Maybe it's somebody else. Who would you guys want if it's not Jake LaRavia? Or maybe it is Jake LaRavia.
Is Roddy going to be in Summer League? Does anyone know that?
I've been trying to Google Grizzlies Summer League roster for the past 10 minutes, and I can't find it.
So I don't think the official roster came out, but I think what it was Kleiman was asked in his post draft thing about, he named off most of the young guys on our team that would play. I just don't remember if he put Roddy in that list. But for me, the easy answer is LaRavia. I think I went back and watched some of the last couple of G League games he played last year, and he had a couple 30-point games where he just looks way different, very aggressive, very confident. Some of he's not just running corner to corner, he's facilitating the offense and doing these step backs or post up, fade away, mid range, and he had some cool stuff in his bag that I didn't know he had. So I do think that the Grizzlies are going to – my first pick would be him. I think they're going to try to forcibly make him a playmaker. My second pick, if it's – I guess it's another easy answer would be Roddy if he's playing. But if he's not, I don't know, maybe Vince Williams. But I feel like Vince Williams is the furthest or the least close to being a contributor out of the Roddy, Zaire, LaRavia group and him and Lofton, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something there that they'll force him to be more on the ball. But my first guess would be LaRavia.
I think I'm gonna say none of them, because I kind of don't feel like any of them fit that archetype of the ball dominant type of player like we wanted Zaire and Bain now is.
But if I could just real quick, none of those players, or Bain and Zaire weren't those type of players before we made them. Bain was a pretty much catch and shoot almost guy, and Zaire was only really just catching lobs and backdoor cuts and corner threes. So until we tried to force him to be an on ball playmaker.
Yeah, that's a good counter, and yeah, I want these guys to get better in all types of ways. It's up to the coaching staff what they should focus on, I guess. But I feel like their path to success is not that one. But I mean, I guess who knows? You're right. Bain wasn't that way in his rookie year. So I don't know. I guess you could say LaRavia, but I feel like he's more of a – I don't know. I I just don't see it with any of those guys. Like maybe Roddy, maybe Laravia. I think Gilliard could be the point guard. Probably what's going to happen, but I don't know. I think that kind of isn't like you can't give that treatment to every single player because they're like a little different. But you're right. I acknowledge that Bane and Zaire weren't that way, and obviously it helped Bane a lot. So I guess we'll just have to see. I'm not the coach.
Yeah. I would say if I were to give the answer to the question I was asking, I would hope it would be Laravia, because out of that group that we drafted last season, all the guys we brought in last season, Laravia, Roddy, Vince Williams. I mean, Kennedy Chandler's not there anymore. And then Lofton Jr. Yeah, Kennedy, like, I kind of hate that we had to cut Kennedy because
You have to do it.
we had to, but I would really kind of like to see where Kennedy is progressing this offseason. But if I were to answer my own question, I would say I hope it's Laravia, just because, again, going back to, we need that scoring wing, and we also need a scoring wing who could also facilitate a little bit more, make the open pass, dribble, drive, kick out. We kind of need we need a solid playmaker like that. So I hope it's Laravia if I'm having to pick one, and hopefully Vince Williams can get. I mean, because man, Vince Williams just looked like deer in the headlights all season. Whenever he got any playing time, at least to me, looked like he just didn't have any confidence out there. So hopefully he can build confidence. Hopefully Roddy can maybe kind of dominate these things. I mean, I feel like Roddy definitely has. They give out like all like first and second team all summer league, don't they? I'm pretty sure they do. I have a feeling Roddy has the potential to make that first team, or second team for summer league, and hopefully he can do that. And maybe Kenny Lofton can get himself like a 30-10, 30-15 game. That'd be fun.
I was thinking too. I think Kenny Lofton's going to dominate summer league.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, so the Grizzlies will play here in the upcoming, the day before the 4th of July. So Monday, July 3rd. That's not tomorrow Monday, but the Monday after. And then they'll play that Wednesday, July 5th. They play the Thunder. Is Chet Holmgren going to play? No, that'd be fun to watch. And then I thought I saw a report about he might. I don't know. And then Thursday, July 6th, we'll play the Jazz. Those are all the Salt Lake City games. And then we'll play 4 games, July 8th, 10th, 12th, and 14th. Those are against the Bulls, Cavs, Clippers, and Lakers. So we'll get a solid 7 games to see what all these young Grizzlies can do. See if there's any potential for anybody to contribute to the regular season team. Anything else that you guys wanted to add?
No.
Cool. Do y'all have any thoughts about some of the trades that have went down or the draft? Anything y'all wanted to touch on?
Not really. I don't think there's been anything like.
There's that Jordan Poole and Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Brad Beal.
Yeah.
All of those, they just don't move the needle for me. Like I still think the Suns are gonna have problems with their depth.
They have even less depth now.
Yeah. It just seems like they keep doing the same thing every year with DeAndre Ayton, where it's like, oh, do we want him? Do we not want him? Do we want to trade him? Do we want to keep him? And I just don't know. I don't trust that team. And Warriors getting Chris Paul, like in my head, like, all right, like cool. I don't think that does anything for them.
They don't need another point guard.
Yeah, I don't know what that dilemma is how that's gonna work out, that dynamic.
Yeah, what role does Chris Paul play for a team that Steph Curry is on?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, Steph Curry can play off ball, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think Chris Paul is just trying to get another ring or get a ring, which I don't think he'll ever do, personally. So there's not been really any trades that I think have made like certain teams emerge as like dominant front runners or anything. I just think the Nuggets are still in a really good position to be there again in the West. As far as the Grizzlies, I think it'll be interesting to see if we pick up one more veteran via free agency. That's the only thing I'm really looking at. I think the language Kleiman used made it seem like we're not going to do anything else crazy, that the Marcus Smart was the big thing they wanted to do, but we still have one more roster spot to fill. So, we might just make a little signing or a little sign-in trade or something to fill the last spot. So I'd look for that. As far as players I'd like to get, maybe like a Bruce Brown. I feel like that might be hard to get considering his value right now. But maybe like a backup point guard. I mean, Bruce Brown could do that. Or just getting another playmaker, another scorer, someone could be pretty cheap but can contribute. So we'll see. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think Bruce Brown, I don't know if I said it on the Xcast or in our text, but I think playing with Jokic kind of made him look better than he is. So I'd be wary about signing Bruce Brown to like a huge deal after the last season.
Yeah. Chelsea, we tried to go after Draymond Green.
I did. I would have liked it personally.
I would have hated it personally.
I hated it.
Yeah.
It's the Dylan Filler role. I mean,
no.
As much as I don't like Draymond Green, we need a player like that. I mean, he's exactly in the Dylan Brooks category. Like, if he's not on your team, you'll hate him, but if he's on your team, you'll like him because he's a pest. But
no,
I would have.
I didn't like Dylan when he was on our team.
I like Dylan, but Green is totally different.
Well,
I hope Dylan plays against the Grizzlies and shoots them out of games.
Look, I don't like Draymond Green personally, but like, he's a champion, he's a winner, he's been proven to be that locker room presence, that glue guy, very great passer, great playmaker. Like, he's not an offensive threat, but I think that he'd be perfect for the Grizzlies personally, just for a job and like help bring. He has that championship pedigree that I think would have helped. But I mean, I kind of like Marcus Smart filling in that role too, because he brings a little more offensively than Draymond, and he's also a defensive player of the year. But I wouldn't have minded Draymond as much as I don't like him personally.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I want to get.
Yeah.
He's not a free agent here, but he will be next year. So he's got 1 year left, I think. Is Monty Morris to be the Tyus Jones
pick?
What do you say?
I said good pick. I like him too.
I don't know how much assets that would take, but
because don't the Wizards have is he still on the Wizards?
Yeah. So it's like they don't need both.
They have him, Tyus, and they have DeLon Wright, I think.
Yeah, we can take Monty Morris.
Yeah, so they have 3 point guards.
Yeah.
I'm still with Gary Trent Jr. when we were looking up free agents. He's a perimeter shooter, also from Apple Valley, Minnesota. So if we're trying to replace another Minnesota and from Minnesota Knight, how do you say that? From Apple Valley, that would be cool. But he also addresses the half court offense. Also, he's 6'9", so he can fill that small forward Dylan role, and So that's what I would want. Shot 38% from three in his career. Hopefully, but I thought it was going to be a little bit better than that. But
I think he's
Yeah.
going to cost too much money.
I don't know.
Well,
We'll
it
see.
can be noted that Kleiman said that he has like the go signal basically from Robert Pera that he'd be willing to spend money, whether that would be this free agency or next year's. He basically said that money's not an issue. So that's not usually how small teams, like small markets, operate. But Kleiman made it seem like what he said, that if there's someone that they really like, that they have the backing to go get them. So
Yeah.
I personally don't think. Here's my theory. I think we're gonna make a very small addition this free agency, some sort of just filler role player that's solid, that'll help just be another guy for our bench. But I think we end up either making a big deal at the trade deadline, before the trade deadline, or I think next free agency we make a home run deal. I think it's either going to happen. The big fish, I think, is happening either at the trade deadline or this time next year. I think it makes.
I agree. I think we'll get a small guy this season. I think the big thing will be next year as well, because like we still have all our picks for the future. Now that we traded the Golden States and the one from this last draft, so, but I think that it's going to be like by trade, not free agency, is my prediction.
Yeah. I mean, that timeline would make sense, Eric, to get, go after that big pick because, Ja's 23 now. A year from now, he'll be 24. But really, his birthday is August 10th, so he'll be basically 25 heading into that next season. So, 25 through like 29, those are through like 30. Those are like really the years that you go for it. So, timeline wise, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you guys wanted to touch on?
Only other thing is, I will say I'm looking forward to this potential lineup: Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Desmond Bane, Jaren, and Steve-O. Offensively, I think that's going to be a great lineup. I'm curious to see how that works, but you guys know I'm a big Luke Kennard stan, so I really hope that Luke Kennard gets added into our starting lineup while Ja's out, and I think he probably will. And I think that we might have some defensive limitations, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But I think offensively, that'd be a really solid lineup.
Yeah, I'm like really looking forward. I mean, not looking forward, but I'm interested to see how the lineups look, at least at the beginning of the season, because we all know Ja's suspended. But then also Steven Adams is going to be injured. I don't know how long he'll be injured, and Clark's going to be injured. So, like, Jenkins is going to have his work to do. What did you say?
I think Steve-O will be back, right?
I think he is.
Okay. Well, even so, Clark's going to be injured, right? And so, assuming Steven Adams is back, then I think I do like that lineup you just said, Eric, with Kennard and Bane, Marcus Smart, and then Jaren, Steven Adams. But then the bench is kind of where it gets interesting, and it's not really like another clear like guard that could like play backup point guard or something like that. So
I think Marcus Smart can once Ja comes back.
Well, once he comes back, but I mean at the beginning of the year, he's starting.
That's why I think we'll get a backup point guard in free agency this year. I think we'll find someone that's not to Tyus' level, but a pretty solid ball handler and just playmaker. I believe. I mean, that's at least what I hope we do, because like once we get Brandon Clark back, like I think we'll have Tillman and Brandon Clark who are reliable on the bench. I think Santi Aldama has proven he can be reliable off the bench, and Roddy, but we don't really have that point guard. So I think adding another vet would work. But once Ja comes back, then it would really be interesting. If Kennard gets kicked to the bench, then we kind of have too many cooks in the kitchen between, like, we'd have Kennard on the bench. We'd have Roddy on the bench. We'd potentially have Laravia, the way they're talking him up. We still have Conchar. So we do kind of have a lot of guys there. So I am looking forward to seeing how – that's why I don't know. Like I feel like we might have to trade some of those people, right? Like Conchar is just in no man's land, right? We still have Zaire. Like I feel like it's one of those guys or two of them might have to be traded. That's why – I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything crazy at this in free agency or like any more trades. But like on paper, it doesn't really make sense. Like once everyone is healthy, like once and not suspended, like you got Roddy, you got Laravia, you got Zaire, you got Conchar, you got all 5 of those guys off the bench. Like, does that make sense?
Really, the question that we're really getting at is how many of those guys can contribute in come playoff time when the roster rotations get really tight and the possessions get really emphasized. How many of those guys can you count on giving positive minutes out there when it really matters? And for a lot of those names that you just listed off, you're not really too optimistic that they can provide you with solid minutes.
Yeah,
I'd say that's good, like for right now, but I think that could definitely change as the season goes on, and we're gonna have to play somebody in the regular season, and I think someone will have a chance to prove themselves. Like, definitely. So I think like the way we think about Laravia now could be completely different by the end of the regular season. So I would love to see like Jenkins or give Laravia, and especially I would love to see him give Zaire another shot at getting some rotation minutes, because I kind of felt like Zaire got shortchanged a little bit because he missed time with injury, and then he came back and he came back and he wasn't so good, but he was just coming back from injury. He didn't get his feet under him really. So I think that he had a really promising rookie year, and if it made me sad to see him get relegated in the last season.
But doesn't it just seem like, even if I do think one of those guys will step up and be solidified as in the playoff rotation, kind of like how Roddy was that guy last year, but like, doesn't it still seem like there's someone that has to go, like from that room? Like, doesn't it just seem like there's too many guys? And I don't know if that gets consolidated now or how that works out, but it just seems like there's guys.
I think you can keep a lot of those guys that we just named off on the bench, like Conchar, Zaire, Roddy, Laravia, Lofton. I think you can keep a lot of those guys for the regular season up until maybe the trade deadline time. And then at that point, maybe you use those guys, get some, like, I don't know, just a better rotation player or just another contributor, because those guys, honestly, out of all the names that I just listed off, I think Roddy is the only guy, at least right now, that can contribute come playoff time. And even then, he didn't play in that Lakers series, right? So, I mean, not like heavily, but there's, I mean, it really just comes down to like, this team is in win now mode, and you need players that can play against various playoff lineups. And if the answer is no to some of those players, I hate to say it, but they can't be a part of the team. So
agreed. Who knows? Maybe John Conchar locked himself in a barn this offseason. Maybe he learned how to shoot again. Maybe Zach Williams figured it out. Who knows? Like that's why there's a lot of like interesting things. Like that's especially with Zaire. Like I'm so curious as to why he wasn't on the summer league roster. Maybe he's getting good. Maybe I don't know. I just don't know with him. But with everyone there, it's interesting to see like hopefully Roddy's making the jump. Like there are guys there that could potentially fill that role we need, but also like as it sits right now, we don't know. Like we don't have that definitive guy on the bench. That's why I think we need to go get another guy that come playoff time we can rely on. But maybe he emerges from our team that as we know it now.
Yeah, I will say like I know we're in win now mode now, but like most of these guys we're talking about trading here are like were drafted 1 year ago or 2 years ago. So like I don't want to like just go ahead and trade them because they can't contribute to a playoff just yet. Because we were like a very overachieving young team, so I'd like to hold on to them until they reach their like potential, I guess.
I mean, yeah, in theory, but I think if there's an opportunity for someone that you think if you add to this roster that you're going to be a bona fide contender and or get over the hump, I think you have to pull the trigger and be willing to give up a couple of those guys. Like at least the ones that you are surefire that aren't necessary to your future as a team. That like would be great to keep on your team, but like if you get rid of, like, it'll be nice young talent for the other team to be attracted to give you a nice rotation player, but you're not just giving them away for nothing. You know, I don't know. I feel like I get with what you're saying, but I feel like at a point, if we want to get serious about winning, a couple of those guys are going to have to go.
Yeah, like even best case scenario, and they all develop into good players. You really still can't play all of them. So, you know, that's a good point.
Yeah, I agree. Would just look forward to seeing what the front office and Taylor Jenkins does with all these players. Still an exciting time, despite the past 6 months of Grizz fandom. It's been pretty doom and gloom, but the reality still stands that it is an exciting time to be a Grizzlies fan. Um, there's still optimism that we can have, and this team is still on track to have success for many, many years. So that's something that we can really put our hope in as Grizz fans. So Grizzlies are 8 days away from some summer league action against the 76ers. Maybe we'll get some axe casts in and recap some of those games, but hoping the best for some player development and just some entertaining basketball. Anything else you guys want to say before we get out of here?
Nope.
Cool. All right. Well, signing off for now. This is Caleb with Eric and Luke. This has been the Axecast. Hope y'all enjoy. We'll see y'all next time.